Ladies and gentlemen, I want you guys to take a look down here at this chat, and I want you guys to notice that people are posting a clown emoji in the chat. I know you guys are wondering, why are they posting the clown emojis? What does that have to do with this story? It has a lot to do with this story because I want you guys to take a look at something. But before I get to speaking in a disparaging way about these individuals, let me give you guys a quick disclaimer that some of you might find my content offensive or controversial. This video is coming from the information is coming from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news websites, and interviews. My commentary is my personal opinion about the facts. The point is to try to correct these actions and use these as cautionary tales to prevent these tragedies. Viewer discretion is advised, and that is your official disclaimer. Pause it if you need to. I want you guys to take a look at these two individuals, and I wish I had my... Matter of fact, maybe I could do it. I don't know. I don't want to mess... Oh, no. Let me not do that. Let me not do that. I've been messed up my screen. So, the two individuals that you see on my screen, a 35-year-old man in Indiana, and this is, I think that's roughly around Bloomington, I believe. A 35-year-old Indiana man last week admitted to viciously abusing his 12-year-old son before starving him to death. And I want you guys to look at all those clown emojis in the chat. Post them up. Post them up. I want y'all to look and tell that these two people, he looks like a husky individual on the right-hand side, probably never missed a meal in his life, but starved his own 12-year-old son to death. Luis Eduardo Pozo Jr. on Wednesday pleaded guilty to one count of murder for the killing of Eduardo Pozo in 2019, court records reviewed by Law and Crime. So thank you, lawandcrime.com, for the article. That's where this article is coming from. We'll talk about those chains and whips and all those other things here in just a moment. Pozo, a transient man. What the hell does that even mean? What is a transient man? What the hell does that mean? Y'all hold on. A transient man is... What is that? Any person at the who either at the person's own expense or at the expense of others obtains lodging space or the use of a lodging space on a daily or weekly basis. Oh, okay. So he was moving from place to place, essentially homeless. Okay, I got it. A transient man had initially been charged with multiple other felonies, including one count of each neglect of a dependent resulting in the death, neglect of a dependent involving cruel confinement, criminal confinement causing bodily injury, battery resulting in bodily injury of a person under the age of 14 years old. Prosecutors dropped those charges, as well as a petition seeking a sentence of life without the possibility of parole in exchange for Pozo pleading guilty to murder. According to the report from the Herald Times, Pozo carried his unconscious son into an emergency room at IU Health Bloomington Hospital, so I was right about Bloomington, at approximately 2:52 a.m. on May the 24th. The boy was pronounced dead a short while later at approximately 3:05 a.m. The medical staff at the hospital reportedly told investigators that Eduardo was found to be severely emaciated. Severely emaciated. They starved him to death. Was found severely emaciated by the hospital staff and had multiple bruises, lacerations, and ulcers all over his body in various stages of healing. The child, at 12 years old, weighed only 50 pounds at the time of his death. 50 pounds. Just in the past 12 months, maybe even less than that, I've lost 25 pounds. So you mean to tell me if you just double that, that was a 12-year-old boy's entire weight? Did anybody else see this? Did they never see him? Did they keep him hidden from the public? Why would they? Well, I don't know why they would do this. An autopsy determined that the child had been severely beaten and not fed over a long period of time. Coroner Johnny Shields reportedly ruled that the cause of death was starvation. I mean, did he not go to school or no family members? I don't know how nobody didn't notice that. Investigators looking into the circumstances of Eduardo's death soon discovered a slew of evidence illustrating the horrific nature of the boy's final days. And we're going to get to those whips and chains here in a moment. According to the Kokomo Tribune, cell phone footage from May 19th showed Eduardo inside of a motel room bathroom. He was reportedly chained to the towel rack bar and his hands and feet were tied. This baby. Let me show y'all what he was tied up with. Let me know that you guys can see that on my screen. That would be considered to be inhumane if you put those type of chains and stuff on a dog, on anything living. That might even be considered to be, I don't want to use that word, that terminology. Even if you were trying to lock a vehicle up like a motorcycle or something, that might even be too much for a motorcycle, let alone a human being. He was reportedly chained to a towel rack with his hands and feet were tied. He was also wearing an electric shock collar designed for dogs. That's the second one of these stories that we've heard similar to that. But that girl that story happened to, that's actually on my channel. You can go back and watch that with those 3 women that were arrested. She actually was able to run away and get away. She was a little bit older and had the ability to get away. And he was not. He was not so lucky. Eduardo's stepmother, 28-year-old Diana Medellin Flores, last year pleaded guilty to 1 count of murder in the boy's horrific death. Monroe Circuit Court Judge Christine Talley Hassman later sentenced Medellin Flores to spend 65 years in state prison, the maximum sentence for murder in Indiana. And I think they did a good job with the sentencing as far as that goes. A probable cause affidavit filed in the case reportedly stated that Medellin Flores told investigators that Pozo was primarily responsible for the beatings Eduardo endured. She reportedly claimed that Pozo would often use a belt, a shoe, or his bare hands to beat Eduardo. How would you know, ma'am? Oh, that's right, because you were there, you saw something, and didn't say anything. Now you're being held accountable, and I think that's accurate. That's the way it should be. If you see something happen to children and you don't say anything, your ass should go to jail. I 100% agree with that. Medellin Flores reportedly said that she and Pozo only made the decision to bring Eduardo to the emergency room after they found him cold to the touch and not breathing. Gee, let's think about it. What did you think would happen to a human being if you didn't feed them? Yes, they die. They wither away and die. 50 pounds at 12 years old? I say it's 65 years in jail. Yeah, that's about right. That's about right, ma'am. Stupid ass. Prior to the boy's death, the couple was also taking care of 3 other children. Keep in mind that this didn't happen to them, from what I understand. Ages 2, 5, and 9. Police say that none of the 3 other children showed any signs of being abused or starved. What does that tell us? That these children probably had different fathers? And also, that they probably only had these kids to collect benefits off of these kids. And we call that hashtag babies for benefits. That's what we call it here at the AFC. Inside of the hotel room where the family had been staying, let's think about that for a minute. So this fool didn't have no place for them to live in an apartment, no home, a transient person moving from place to place, essentially homeless. But you got money for chains and electric shock dog collars? Huh. Seems like he only had money for what he wanted to have money for. But I digress. Inside of the hotel room the family had been staying, investigators recovered the shock collar, chains, padlocks, and shackles. Police said that the couple left the boy chained in the bathroom without food for weeks. The couple reportedly worked for Jose Page's advertisement and distribution and were contacted to advertise for the Cirque Italia's big top Goldwater Circus. That is a long, crazy name. Which had several shows in Bloomington College Mall back in June. At the time, June of 2019. At the time, several detectives said it was the worst case they had ever worked on. There are no words, Detective Lieutenant Jennifer Allen of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office reportedly told Indianapolis NBC affiliate WTHR in 2019. Everybody involved with this case had been very deeply affected and will be affected until the end of their career, let alone the rest of their lives. I mean, there are really no words for this type of abuse. The Monroe County Prosecutor's Office and the Monroe County Sheriff's Office did not respond from Law and Crime seeking additional details about the case. But there's more information out there if you guys want to look that up. Let me give you the fair usage and let's talk about this. Here we go. Let's get it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. And if you guys would, do me a favor and please click that thumbs up. I want to make sure and share this video so more people can get an opportunity to see it. But definitely, we want to make sure and get justice for this kid. And man, what he went through was just, that was an absolute nightmare. A nightmare that he was forced to live through. Absolutely senseless. Here we go. Here are the videos. Let's get it.
Pair of traveling circus promoters now face neglect, battery, and confinement charges tonight after their son's starvation and death. And murder charges may come next. As Johnny Runovich shows us tonight, investigators say it's the most extreme case of child abuse they've ever seen.
Detectives say restraints they discovered in this motel used against a young boy sicken them.
Extremely. I'm a mom. This doesn't happen. And it did, so.
Chains, shackles, a shock collar for dogs.
I cannot think of, in 30 years, a case like this.
12-year-old Eduardo Paso died a slow, painful death. Investigators say he was systematically starved and abused by his own father and stepmother. Bruises all over his skeletal frame.
Severely emaciated, weighing approximately 50 to 55 pounds. There was definitely signs of severe starvation and abuse as well.
Detectives say Luis Paso and Diana Flores, originally from Florida, are contract employees for a traveling circus, passing out flyers for a show in Bloomington next month. They came to this motel last Monday, but while they worked with 3 other children in tow, investigators say they left Eduardo chained up here without food. Evidence includes cell phone pictures and videos, even a selfie Paso took with his son in shackles. A webcam tied to the towel bar kept watch as the boy's health got worse and worse. His younger brothers and sister perfectly healthy.
Realize the horror.
So let's get this straight. They had him on a remote video camera. He's got cell phones. Taking selfies with him. Are you kidding me? He had a camera so he could watch him. Why they just left him and abandoned this kid? So you don't have money for a place to live, but you got money for all of these chains and dog collars and shackles, hotel. You got all these other kids, at least 3 other kids, and video cameras to watch him? So they installed a video camera in the hotel. Huh. But they ain't got no money though. Living from place to place at the Ranchero Hotel. How does nobody not see this? The fact that you have a man and a woman who have 4 kids in tow and they don't have a place to live. I'm sorry that some people might not like me saying this, but I think that is highly irresponsible for individuals to have children and that many children and not have a roof to put over their heads, not have a place to stay. That's kind of criminal in itself. Am I wrong for saying that? I could be. Let me know what you guys think. Tell me if I'm wrong for what I'm saying. I think that in itself is a crime. Hashtag babies for benefits. Let's keep going.
That they lived in where a sibling is placed in shackles and not fed as well as them, that this was just a normal life for them.
Young Eduardo stopped breathing in that motel overnight Friday. When his father took him to Bloomington Hospital, he died within 10 minutes.
Everybody involved with this case has been very deeply affected and will be affected until the end of our career, let alone the end of our lives. I mean, there's really no words for this type of abuse.
Investigators say Paso does have a history with DCS in Florida. The couple due in court here in Indiana on Friday.
And now a tragic story new at 5. Investigators say, in fact, it is the worst case of extreme child abuse they have ever encountered. There was a young boy restrained in chains, and he was starved to death by his own family. Our Jenny Runovich shares the disturbing details that we learned from investigators today in Monroe County.
Well, this is the Monroe County motel where police say the Paso family had been staying since last Monday. They say they usually left Eduardo shackled and chained to a bathtub in the room where he was systematically starved and abused until his death on Friday. Chains, shackles, a shock collar for dogs. These are the weapons investigators say Eduardo Paso's own family used against him. The coroner observed his young body much different from this picture, instead bruised and skeletal. His father, Luis Poso, and stepmother, Diana Flores, now charged with neglect, battery, and confinement. Investigators say they were contract employees passing out flyers for a traveling circus coming to Bloomington. But when the Pasos and their 3 other children worked, detectives say they left Eduardo chained up in this motel. Flores says her husband physically abused Eduardo because he acted up more than their other kids. The 12-year-old stopped breathing in that motel Friday and died within 10 minutes of arrival at Bloomington Hospital.
You don't even want to let your mind go to imagine what this child's thoughts were and what his prospects for his future were.
Everybody involved with this case has been very deeply affected and will be affected until the end of our career, let alone the end of our lives. I mean, there's really no words for this type of abuse.
And because the family's transient and traveled all over, they could face more charges up to and including murder. Meanwhile, the couple arrested is being held in the Monroe County Jail on a $500,000 bond each. Their first court hearing on Friday. Jenny Runovich, Channel 13 Eyewitness News.
Young boy's time on Earth comes to a tragic end in the most horrifying way. ABC Action News reporter Julie Solomon has the truly disturbing allegations of child abuse against a Bay Area couple.
Eduardo Poso appears happy in this photo taken in December after Manatee County deputies investigated allegations he was abused and neglected.
He was healthy. He's seemingly happy in this photograph. As you can see, he's smiling.
The 12-year-old dying last week. Investigators say there were signs of abuse and starvation. Monroe County authorities in Indiana arresting the child's father and stepmother, Luis Poso and Diana Flores. The family lived in Manatee County. Investigators believe they moved to multiple places promoting a traveling circus. A box of restraints and a canine shock collar were found inside a motel where they were staying. The boy's biological mother heartbroken.
It never came to my head that they were going to chain him up like an animal, or they were not going to feed him.
The Manatee County Sheriff's Office investigating allegations of abuse 5 times starting in March of 2017. Does the Sheriff's Office feel like they might have missed something?
We feel like we did everything we could do based on the information that we had.
In one of the cases, the Manatee County Sheriff's Office responded to a home here in Mayaca City after the boy's grandmother noticed a bruise on his cheek. He allegedly told her his stepmother hit him several times after he did not finish his homework. But according to a Sheriff's Office report, the child told investigators he got hurt playing on a trampoline and that he is not scared of his parents or living with them. Deputies reported the children were well fed and healthy. Each case was closed.
All of them had the same result, and that was, nothing could be substantiated. There was no sign of neglect. There was no sign of abuse.
Reporting in Manatee County, Julie Salmon, ABC Action News.
Chains, shackles, a shock collar for dogs. These are the weapons investigators say Eduardo Passo's own family used against him. The coroner observed his young body much different from this picture, instead bruised and skeletal. His father, Luis Poso, and stepmother, Diana Flores, now charged with neglect, battery, and confinement. Investigators say they were contract employees passing out flyers for a traveling circus coming to Bloomington. But when the Passos and their 3 other children worked, detectives say they left Eduardo chained up in this motel. Flores says her husband physically abused Eduardo because he acted up more than their other kids. The 12-year-old stopped breathing in that motel Friday and died within 10 minutes of arrival at Bloomington Hospital.
You don't even want to let your mind go to imagine what this child's thoughts were and what his prospects for his future were.
Everybody involved with this case has been very deeply affected and will be affected until the end of our career, let alone the end of our lives. I mean, there's really no words for this type of abuse.
Now, because the family's transient and traveled all over, they could face more charges up to and including murder. Meanwhile, the couple arrested is being held in the Monroe County Jail on a $500,000 bond each. Their first court hearing on Friday. Jenny Runovich, Channel 13 Eyewitness News.
All right, so let me clarify a few things here real quick. So for those who heard the sentencing of the stepmom, so let's talk about dad's sentencing. So for those who might not have caught it, or maybe I didn't say it, so I do want to apologize. But Luis Poso now faces a maximum of 65 years in prison. His wife, Diane Medellin Flores, pled guilty to their son's murder in July 2021. And she's currently serving a 65-year sentence. So he's facing 65 years. And it shows that his sentencing is scheduled for August the 18th. So that's still coming up. So he's looking to face about the same amount of time in jail as her. So from here, we're still talking about 2 months from now, depending on when you're watching this video. So today is June the 16th. So about 2 months from now, we should be able to find out after he is officially sentenced. But that's what he's facing right now. But again, when you guys watch this video, actually not again, but nonetheless, when you guys watch this video on the replay, I'm gonna probably update the thumbnail to show them with clown noses, because I believe that's what they are. They're clown individuals. Clown parents should have never had access to these children, shouldn't be parents, and they definitely should never have their freedom again. And what they did to this boy, let me say this real quick about the investigation that Child Services did. Let me say this. I don't know what type of investigating they're doing or what they're looking at. Look at their circumstances. If you refer to them as transient, they don't have a stable house. How was that not considered to be not a safe environment for children? Number one. Number two, if you came in and investigated multiple different times, this child didn't just wake up one day, he was starved in 24 hours and died. That's not the way that works. You don't end up at 12 years old at 50 pounds. That is a progressive weight loss. Can we get some clown emojis in the chat? That is a progressive weight loss. How do you investigate that many times? That child died over time. And you mean to tell me you didn't notice weight loss? You didn't notice thinning? You didn't realize that a 11 or 12-year-old kid at that time shouldn't have been the weight that he was? I can almost guarantee you between the multiple times they came to check that he was not the weight that he was supposed to be. You should have noticed that there was something wrong. So yes, I think there was a little bit of a failure on Child Protective Services as well. But from what I understand, this was his son. She was the stepmom. She didn't care about that kid because that kid reminded her of the woman that he was with prior, and how he ended up with custody of this kid is beyond me. But again, I think they only use these kids to collect benefits off of them. If you ask me, these are two circus clowns. They're horrible individuals and deserve every bit of that 65 years in prison. So if anything, that's probably what will update you whenever we get the final sentencing, but that's what they're looking at. That's the end of this particular story. But that boy absolutely suffered. And he deserves his justice. Young Prince, R.I.P. He really, really, truly deserved to grow up and become something great. So keep those other children in y'all prayers, because they saw this and didn't have any choice but to act like everything is okay. So y'all keep those other children in your prayers, and God rest this baby's soul. Okay, thank you guys so much for listening with an open mind as well as an open heart. From my heart to yours, I love you all. Thank y'all for listening. Continue to be AFC advocate. Advocate for your children in your neighborhoods and your families and your cities and your states. All right. We'll love you. Talk to you later. Peace.